Hey there, firm owners. I'm Ryan Lozanis, and you're listening to the Future Firm Accounting Podcast, the place where you get one actionable lesson each episode to help you fast-track a modern, scalable firm that you love working in and that doesn't drive you into the ground. In today's episode, I'd like to touch on a pretty personal subject. Specifically, I want to talk about why I decided to sell my online accounting firm, Zen Accounting. But first, a bit of backstory. My father was a small business owner, and at a very young age, I was exposed to entrepreneurship. My dad used to own a print shop, and I've seen the highs and lows of business ownership. I've seen him when he was on top of the world, and I've seen him when he had to go through bankruptcy when printing was coming to an end of its life cycle, and before he had to reinvent the business. And I've also seen him literally work himself sick just to try and keep the business afloat. My uncle also ran a very successful line of retail clothing shops, and I saw a similar cycle of ups and downs, and likewise with another uncle of mine who ran a very successful high-end hi-fi electronics shop, only to suffer the similar fate as my other uncle and father. Witnessing these experiences firsthand greatly shaped my outlook on business ownership. That said, entrepreneurship ran deep in my blood, and I decided to kick off my career in business ownership in my 20s when I started one of the earliest online accounting firms in North America when I opened the doors to Zen Accounting. Because the online accounting firm model was so new, and because I was interested in trying out all kinds of ideas to eliminate the typical pain points associated with accounting services for small businesses, I became very excited about the prospect of paving new ground, especially since I was so frustrated with the lack of progress and innovation in the accounting profession. The purpose of helping make people's lives easier in a business that has often been seen as something painful for clients is what drove me to push through day in, day out. I had an absolute blast in the early years as I grew Zen Accounting, and the firm quickly became known as one of the pioneers in the space. It was super exciting, and I spent most of my time toying around and tinkering with ideas and strategies to help structure the business and move it forward. At the same time, I found myself moving deeper and deeper into the operations of the business, which was a role that I absolutely detested. I did hire someone to lead operations at the firm, but at the same time, the model was in place for growth. The inbound marketing engine that I had established was bringing in leads daily, the sales process established was closing those deals, and there was processes in place to deliver the work. A model was in place, and it was established. Sure, there was always ongoing improvements that could be made and new challenges to conquer, but deep down I probably felt like I was starting to lose interest, even though the business had excellent growth year over year. But if I look back to my father who ran his business for decades, I just felt that once you open a business, that you just run it to the end. And certainly that was my intention as well. Then, a few years into the business, I started getting approached by firms that wanted to acquire, merge, and/or partner with a firm like ours, which had a more scalable and technology-forward approach. This was obviously flattering, but I had no clue whether this would be something that I wanted to do or not. The number of firms approaching mine started to intensify, and I decided to explore those options a bit more further. And at that point, I started receiving offers to buy the business, which would obviously be for sums of money more than I'd ever expect to see in my life. At the same time, I was also probably more confused than I'd ever been in my life. I had literally no clue what to do. For one, I had a great business on my hands that was posting impressive growth year over year. But on the other hand, as someone whose personality is definitely type A, where I'm subject to getting bored very easily, I felt my interest was waning in the business. And with that, I also had a number of competing offers starting to be submitted. The level of confusion that I was going through was something that was driving me nuts. I developed all kinds of pros and cons lists, spoke to my wife and family about my situation about 1 billion times, and overanalyzed things to death. And even with that, I was no closer to knowing what to do next. But then I decided to try another exercise. I would forget about what's directly in front of me and instead start at the end. I would start by writing down specifically what I want out of life. I would write down my specific goals in life, how much money I needed to be happy, the specific kind of work I want to be doing, the specific kind of work I want to be working on to get me up in the morning, and basically just write down in bullet points exactly what I wanted out of life. And once I did that, everything became super clear. I realized that I didn't need a massive empire with billions of dollars to be happy, and I realized that my purpose in my professional life was different than the one I thought I was pursuing as part of Zen Accounting, which was really the big one for me. I thought my purpose was one thing, but really it was something completely different. When I started Zen Accounting, I thought my purpose was to make accounting easy for small businesses. But when I actually took a step back and thought about it, I realized that my purpose was about actually trying to help advance the accounting profession, which is something that had always caused me a great deal of frustration. I remember back when I started my firm and when I was looking for advice on how to break the mold in a number of areas when it came to running my firm, and how I would literally have no help or resources from either our professional body or pretty much anyone else, which meant I needed to figure this out all on my own, and it always frustrated me. And at that point, I realized what I was there to do was to help other accountants design, implement, and grow a modern accounting firm that doesn't fit the typical accounting firm mold. And when that purpose became clear, I knew at that point that I wanted to start Future Firm, and that I would design Future Firm completely from the ground up to be in line with my personal goals. Granted, this was also the riskiest option of them all, since I had no clue whether other accountants would even want that kind of help, and due to the fact that I would be giving up a growing, successful accounting firm. But the clarity on my personal goals and on my purpose helped make that decision clear, and when I received the fantastic offer from Equium, the firm that acquired Zen Accounting, I knew that I had to pull the trigger. I'll also say that some of my family's experience in running a business probably made me think twice about the best time to sell. Again, I've seen the ups and downs happen several times, and I know that it's impossible to time the top. I was proud of what I had built, and I felt that I had accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, so when I sold the firm, I was at peace, and I haven't regretted a day since. And to this day, I'm super happy I made that decision, because each and every day I wake up knowing that I'm fulfilling my purpose. And while money is nice, purpose is what really drives you. So the moral of the story is this. I coach a lot of firms that are fed up with their firm. They say that they just want to sell and take a year off to think about things and then decide what's next. And certainly this is not atypical when it comes to business ownership in general. But prematurely selling might be a big mistake. Instead, what I recommend is this. Take a step back, write down what your ideal life looks like, figure out what your actual purpose is, and then determine if you're on the right path to get there. If you don't understand those things, then making the decision to sell becomes very difficult. And in fact, these principles guide my everyday decisions, whether it be for business or personal. If you're interested in getting some clarity when it comes to these matters, you might want to check out episode 32 titled Enough, which talks about how much money you really need in life to be happy, or episode 27 titled Run a Firm You Love by Defining Your Personal Goals, which talks about the importance of having a business that is consistent with what you really want out of life. And if you're looking for help creating the firm of your dreams, one that's scalable and one that doesn't drive you into the ground, you might want to check out my online coaching membership, Future Firm Accelerate. It includes all the lessons I learned the hard way from building my cloud accounting firm from scratch to sale. There's now around 250 modern, forward-thinking entrepreneurial firm owners in there, all collaborating together on best practices, in addition to the in-depth online trainings that I've created and the online coaching I provide whenever any of the members are stuck. Head on over to www.futurefirmaccelerate.com for more details. And with that, thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care.